Hey people, Broken Puppet, welcome back to my drawing tutorials. Got a really cool one. I'm going to do some praying hands with a rose underneath, really classic old school, really nice fun one. If it's your first time to my channel, make sure you click subscribe. I've got hundreds of videos I'm sure you guys are going to enjoy. And yeah, it just really helps my channel grow, so I really appreciate it. But for now people, here we go. Old school rose, praying hands, boom. So I'm going to start off around here, so I'm going to mark it out the rough sort of detail part. So we're going to go circle. So line off, just coming down this way. Just so I get an idea, this is where I kind of want my rose. It's going to kind of sit there. And I'm going to want my hands kind of in this rough area. So I'm going to bring in this square shape to begin with, like this. Then what I'm going to do over here, I'm going to bring in this line coming from this corner, cutting across to come on the outside part here. Curve that line up, just there. So it leaves that little gap just here. And from here, I'm going to bring this up, create another box. I'm going to create another little box just on top, except this top's going to be more sort of curved, so I want it's going to curve like this. So it's going to create this kind of mittens kind of thing, so you get an idea of where we're going to put our fingers. And on the outside here, we're going to curve another little bit, so it's going to curve around, just mimic this kind of shape, curving there. And then where you've got this corner here, we're going to curve this line inwards, curve around, just here. So roughly where this sort of line curves across here is where you sort of want to curve for your thumb. And then what we're going to do up here, we're going to go one line, I'm going to go two lines. So we got the longest part in the middle is where you want that middle finger. Three line, and you got the fourth line, a few little fingers on the side. So see, it sort of breaks them up like this. And once you've got done, you can start with a little more detail. So I'm going to start off with a set of fingers up here. So I'm going to cut this line up. And when you get to the center, you can do a little circle around it if you want to get an idea. You want to create a little bump out for the center part of that finger, just there. This is going to curve up. It's going to curve up here, and you're going to have your finger out the top. So it's going to curve up to a point, curving around that way. So you do that for each one of these. So it's going to curve up, curve around that little knuckle area. That's going to curve up. Remember that middle finger, you want to be the longest. This finger's going to curve up. It's going to be a bit shorter now. Curving down. And this little finger is going to be the shortest. It's going to curve around here. And when you curve this line back, you're going to create a curve down under here. Until we get back to here, I'm going to curve this down towards that line for that original square we done just there. Now for the thumb, we're going to bring this up. Where you got this line here, it's going to create a little knuckle bit just here. I'm going to curve that around. So it's going to curve up. And around here, you can have a little bump if you want, just to kind of sort of show this part. And that's going to loop around, and you can have a little fingernail section just there on that part. You can have a little curve just here at the back, just where you get the secondary hands, where your hands like this, where you have this thumb in the background. And just here, you want this little finger on this side, on this hand. You want to kind of match up, so it's going to touch this little finger a little bit lower than this one. I'm going to curve this downwards. I'm going to go 1, 2, and this can bump around like so back to here. And then on the inside part, we're going to create a little curve like this to a point. So I'm going to go 1, I'm going to go 2, and you go 3. So you're going to have these like 3 little curved bits just on the inside there. Now you're only going to really see this finger. You can have little hints just to the other ones on the inside part here, but this little finger is the only detail one you're going to see on this inside part. Now around the outside you can have rosary beads if you want, so I'm going to have some beads. So kind of around the hand, just like this. I'm going to do a little line. I'm going to do some circles inside this. Just sketch them in roughly. You know, we'll do the detail later. And you can have some secondary ones coming down if you want. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If they go behind this circle, don't worry about them. They're going to sit in the background. And we're going to come down the rose now. So I've got this circle for the rose. So I'm going to do this one circle like this. I'm going to do another little circle in the center. Like this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to curve inwards from this circle. So I'm going to come down here. I'm going to curve into it like this. I'm going to loop, almost coming outside that circle like this. And then I'm going to curve back and go 1 semicircle, 2, 3, and kind of wiggly line back towards that point just there. That's the inside part here. I'm going to create this curve outwards. I'm just going to loop around. You know, and in the center part now, you've got this kind of love heart shape here. And you want to get something on the inside. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to create this little loop shape. It's going to loop around like so. Now you can have little sort of curve points like this, just like little M kind of shapes if you want, building up inside it. Sorry, I went to double take like I'm doing on the iPad, sorry. I'm too used to the dual drawing. Right, and running outside here again, I'm just going to go curve, and then semicircle around there. And I'm just going to reinforce that circle shape on this side. So it's a nice sort of circular part at the bottom, with a bud in the middle. And then running outside, we're going to have the petals. So the secondary line is going to be where we're going to have our petals. So you want to have one petal in this location at the bottom, And you can have 1, say 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 if you want. You can have 7 if you want, but I recommend to have at least 5. You know, 5's kind of like a good number. You know, 5 or more is kind of what you want. So I'm going to curve this line down. Just going to loop this one around. This one I'm going to loop up. This one's going to curve around. This one's going to loop up, curve around. Maybe little ones in the background just there possibly. And once you've got done, you've got to sort of think where you want the leaves. Now the leaves are really important because the leaves are going to sort of shape in higher bits that we don't really want to show. Like where this hand sort of comes down here, it sort of disappears to nothing. We don't want to sort of elongate this and hide behind here. So we're going to use a leaf that's going to fit in this area to give this a nice finish. So it's going to now finish quite nicely. I'm going to have our stem, which is going to curve off, coming this way. It's going to be more detailed, but I'm going to do 2 lines curving like this, and the bottom bit is like a teardrop shape. So I'm going to do this teardrop shape at the bottom like this. So come up here, I'm going to have maybe one that's going to come off here. So I'm going to have circle, line in the center, maybe have 1 leaf there, 1, maybe 2 bits up here, like so. I'm not going to have 1 coming here because I don't want to kind of sort of cover too much of the hand detail. I want the hand to stay on show. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I might maybe put like a little one. I'm going to have some of these like slightly smaller ones. They're going to sort of be this kind of shape. They can kind of add in random locations. They're just really nice for kind of bulking out and adding little bits of detail. So I might add one on the stem just here, a little thorn just there, and a little thorn just there. So now I've got this done. I'm going to grab my Sharpie and I'm going to go over most of the detail with the Sharpie. It's old school, so I want like a nice, you know, chunky kind of line to it. You know, you can go thinner line if you want. You can use something like a Unipin fine line or any kind of pen you want. You know, I'm just a fan of my chunky lines, so that's what I'm going to go for. So we'll start off with this curve. I'm going to curve around this way. 1, 2, 3, wavy line, coming back. Curve the line round, semicircle, there, wavy line, coming back. Put a little spiral on the inside part, just there. Finish up that circle on that side. Get your petals on the inside parts. Gonna get the stem now. The stem's gonna have a little leaf bit here, so I'm basically gonna start where I do this line down the center of this. I have this curve back and it's gonna connect up to the stem, I think. Rather than come down. Most of mine tend to come off the flower, so they kind of sit behind, but it's nice to have 1 or 2 coming off the stem. So this one gonna have come off the stem. So it's gonna go down there to a spike. It's gonna loop around into that sort of teardrop shape at the bottom. Little shape just there. Little leaf on that bit just there. And around these, you've got different kind of choices. For this one, I'm gonna start from the top, and I'm just gonna go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And go back into it. Careful not to go over line like I just done there, like an idiot. Little line just in here. So come from the tip of the point, I'm going to curve back 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. You can have more. You can change the sort of shape if you want. You can do little sort of dime type shapes at the top. You can add little lines inside it. For this one, I'm going to sort of do shading on the inside part. 1, 2, 3. Maybe I have 4 next, that goes a bit longer. Quite like that, and I was kind of this one coming down this way. Just so I've got somewhere to finish off this one down the bottom. Just like so. So now the prayer bead's going to sit in the front, so I'm going to go 1 circle, 2 circle, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 just there. 1, 2, 3, 4. As it's going around there, you're going to get hit at 1, 2 just there. Just because they're sitting in front, you know, it makes sense. Down the line, kind of cutting halfway through those. So whatever sits to the front most, generally start off with first. Just makes it a lot easier and just saves doing little silly mistakes. Bring these lines down for this hand. get a little line just connecting all these roseberries now. Let's get those there. Might do a little line just on the end of the fingers, just do a little bit of shading bits on those. And got the fingernails. Don't always do fingernails, but I'm going to add them in this one, just for the sake of doing them. That literally just kind of curves off the top, just like so. So now we've got this done, I'm just going to rub out that pencil work, so I don't need that there no more. You know, Sharpie tends to dry really quick, so just make sure whatever pen you're using, you just give enough time for it to dry before you start rubbing over the edge, because you can sometimes smudge it. You know, I'm using Bristol board paper, so it tends to absorb fairly quickly. But yeah, if you're using other paper, it might not necessarily do that. You know, every kind of paper is a little bit different. So now we've got that done, I'm going to grab my markers, I'm going to use my black, I'm going to use my grey tone, just do some grey shading to begin with, and then I'm going to hit with the colour afterwards. These are Winsor & Newton brush markers, I really like these. You can use stuff like Copics, Chameleon pens, you know, or other kind of markers, anything that's generally either alcohol based or got a brush marker tip. You know, the brush marker is the main thing. You just want to have that nice kind of sort of tip to blend. You know, if you don't have that, it's going to make things a lot harder for you, so I just recommend using that. So I'm going to start off with, say, inside the rose, I'm just going to put a bit of black on the sides here. And I'm going to go down through my shades now, so I'm going to go for my CG5 to begin with. Now, we're going to use a side-to-side motion, as I always do. And I'm going to blend this, curving down. And I'm just going to go down through my shades until I can blend this out nicely. So I've basically gone from like my dark one, which was like CG5 to CG4. I'm going to skip CG3, just go to CG2. And then eventually go down to CG1, which is basically my lightest tone. You know, if you're using pencils and stuff, or pens, or markers, you know, just use whatever you have. You ain't got these ones, just kind of sort of translate to what you do have. You know, you don't have to use these to achieve the same effect. You know, I will do a few videos where I'm just using like maybe, what do you call it, sort of pencils. What do you call it, pencils? Of course they're called pencils. Yeah, I've got my Prism pencils, which I do love, and I'll show you how to use it with those as well. But I'm going to use a bit of black just around these little stem areas. Just for a change. I normally sort of go from the bottom upwards. I'm just showing you guys a different sort of thing what I normally do. You know, because there's loads of ways of doing sort of leaves and flowers. So I'm going to go red, black, CG5 to CG4. Down to CG2. And to my CG1. You know, the more you go through, the better blend you will get. You know, I just don't always necessarily feel the need to go through all of them. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side of the leaves now, so I'm going to go black on here, black on here. This one I've done this stem a little bit too thin, to be honest. I should have brought out a little bit more just there, but it is what it is. It's not going to ruin the design, but it would have been better if maybe I'd made that white carry through a little bit more. So again, I'm just going to go over now with the dark grey tone. You know, and they ain't too wide now, so I'm just putting just a really thin layer each time, just like a little thin line. You know, don't feel like you have to sort of drag it out too much. No, if you go too far, you're getting up right on the edge, and for this particular one, we don't want to go all the way to the edge. So I'm just going to keep going over those edges, just like that. Down to my CG2. The reason I normally skip CG3 is because there's just not really too much difference, I find, in the CG3 and CG2. I tend to find I can do the same blend with just one of them, so I don't necessarily feel the need to do both. But you might find you want to sort of do that, so if you feel like you need to, just do it. You know, it's not an issue. You know, it's probably, I'm very experienced with these. I use these a lot. You know, I pretty much draw these every day now. I've done for years and years and years. So it might just be experience. So if you sort of struggle doing that, just go through all of them. It makes it a bit easier to get the blends. Just now I've got that done on these bottom parts just here. I'm going to go black from the bottom. from the bottom. This is the way I normally do my leaves. You know, 9 times out of 10 for the old school ones, I normally shave from the bottom. You can also go from the top as well. You know, like bottom and top if you want. It's completely up to you. And again, just using a nice kind of side to side motion, just kind of over the edge. Just helps it blend. And I find kind of overlapping your shades a little bit, like when you sort of go down to your sort of 4, just kind of go over the 5 and black. When you go down to the 2, just kind of go back over them sometimes. It just helps blend them, it makes them a bit more even. You know, especially if you're finding you're kind of getting this kind of like a lining effect, then that's a really good thing to do, kind of overlapping, it will kind of help reduce that. Got that there. It's got a little bit on the stem now, not too much. Just gonna go with the grey shade at the top and bottom, just a touch. A much lighter blend. I don't want to kind of sort of feel like it's kind of getting lost, so I'm gonna go much lighter. So I'm not using the black to begin with. Now you can do, I mean there's nothing wrong with that. With old school, you know, black is really important. You can have as much black as you want. I just don't particularly feel like I need to have it in this section. Once you've got it done, you've got to decide whether you want any petals or not. I'm going to have just a little bit, so I'm just going to do a little circle just here, a little circle just here, a little curve just there, just a hint just there, and I'm just going to fade out from that. Very, very short. I don't want to drag this out too much. I just want a really quick transition. So I'm just going to do a really thin line with each one of the shades, just going around the edge, just to kind of blend it out. Now you can have it a solid colour if you want, but I just want a little bit of blend in there. Just a little bit. So again, just going around like that. Just going around here. Just going around there, like so. And then lastly, I'm going to grab my number 1. I'm just going to go over each little bit, just kind of blend it in nicely. Just like that. So that's the black and grey done on the rose now. So now we've done it on the rose, I'm going to move it to the hand. So the hand, I'm going to have a few little key little bits. I'm going to have a little bit of black, just come up here, top, just a little bit up on the side, just kind of towards that knuckle area. Not too far. I'm going to have a bit more black on the side, but here I need to put in this little line just here, I forgot to do. I'm going to have some black on the inside part of these fingers, just here, here, and here. I might have a little bit of black just coming up this bottom section. And possibly a little bit of black inside this gap. I haven't decided yet, I'm going to decide as I get to that area. I might do a little bit just in these top knuckles, but I'm probably going to do that with more of the grey tones and more the flesh tones. You don't always necessarily need the greys for the shades. Sometimes you can do it with your actual colours. So I'm just going to put a little bit of grey tone just over the edge of this now. Just like that. Add some CG4. Again, just go over the edge. Like so. Go down to my number 2. Just have to blend that out a touch. And then to number 1. And after I can decide whereabouts else I want to go for it. Now these are the main parts that kind of sort of give the shape of the hand, and then anything else is kind of that extra. You know, if you don't want to go too far, you can sort of just do that bit and kind of sort of go from there if you want. You know, but I'm not going to stop there. I'm just kind of putting that as my base bit, and now I'm going to kind of add a few extra bits. So I'm going to get a little bit of grey just coming outside of this hand, just on this bottom part just here. You know, I might put just a fraction just on the top part of these knuckles, but hardly anything, just a little bit. A little bit just going over these sort of transition parts, these little free sections just here. So I'm going to choose, starting one off with the 4, just hitting it with a 2 and a 3. Now I don't feel like I need to sort of shade it as much as I did the rest. Here we go. And this is going to go into number 1. Just like so. And then lastly, this isn't so much I call this shade, this is more colour because I want these beads in, actually should I have them brown now? I'm going to have them brown actually. Change my mind on that one. I was going to colour in grey there, but I decided to go for brown. So I'm going to go brown for these ones. So I've got this fire brick colour. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to colour in each little one. And I'm going to leave a little white circle. Now you can colour it all in brown and get like, a little white paint and just get a little dot if you want. That is always an option. But you can just achieve the same effect just by leaving that little white space. Just on those bits. And now with that done, I'm going to grab my couple of flesh tones. So I'm going to go for this. I'm going to go for this dusky pink. That one. That's my thingy. Yeah, I'm going to go blush. And I need my cinnamon tone, if I can find it. Here we go. So flesh, I tend to use fire brick, cinnamon tone into blush. You just get like some nice kind of sort of tones of it. I just quite like it. So I'm just going to get a little bit of fire brick, just a tint, just over the darkest parts of the shadows. Literally just on those sections, nothing too crazy. You don't want too much of it, you just want enough to give a little bit of richness to your shadows. Very important. You can add more later on if you want to, but start off small and then add more as you go. Once you've got that done, I'm going to use my cinnamon tone. It's going to come over this edge. This is kind of going over the lighter bit of shading now. You can do the bulk of the shading, the colouring with this bit rather. And then once you're done now, I'm going to use the blush to blend it out. The blush is just basically a very, very light skin tone, and it's just really good just for blending out the colours really. It's more so for blending than it is for actual colouring in my opinion. Especially with these kind of bits, you can use it the entire way through if you want, go through the whole hand. But with old school, you tend to find a lot of time you just kind of get this effect where it's like just colour around the outside edge. And I really like it, it just kind of gives it that nice kind of vintage kind of vibe to it. Just like that. Now other options you can do, which I was going to show you, I don't normally do this, but where you've got the rosy beads, if you want, you can do like a little shadow. So I'm just going to use a little cinnamon tone just underneath each one of these balls. Sometimes it's a nice little, it's a slight hint of realism without taking away from the old school. You don't want to add in too many realistic elements, but sometimes it's a nice little touch. It just brings it out a touch. And that's literally it. Inside the fingernails, I might use a little bit of cinnamon tone just on the side. Just like that. But that's it, I don't want to go too crazy with that. After we got it done, I'm going on to the rose now. So the rose, you can do the rose in any colours. I'm going to use reds. You can use reds, yellows, blues, pinks, purples. The only colour you don't really want to do a rose is green. Because it looks like a cabbage. You never see someone do a green rose, it just doesn't look right. So I'm going to go for reds. I've got my berry reds. It's my favourite red to use. I'm just going to bold in the centre part red, just like this. Around these bits here, I'm going to bring in reds like this. And you can bring red to the right edge, the edge if you want, and do like a little white strip, or just go all the way to the very edge, just in bold reds. I'm going to do this nice little fade out, so I'm going to do this reds, and then I'm going to go into some sort of pinky tones, just to kind of blend it out. So I've gone around the shading bits we've done with the reds, and now I'm going to use my rose pink, and I'm going to go into pale pink. So I'm going to go around the edge of this now and just blend this out. I'm doing all of them at once. I recommend you maybe sort of tackle one at a time, because if they start to dry, they can be a bit awkward to sort of work out, and start to blend out. So, I work fairly quick, so I can kind of do this. But yeah, just tackle yours one by one. Don't feel like you need to take on too much at once. As your speeds increases, you can sort of start to tackle more if you want. But it's best to start doing that later on when you kind of feel more comfortable than trying to tackle too much and kind of feel like you kind of ruin your work. Just do what you can do as you're sort of learning. Speed and stuff just comes in time. You know, I didn't used to be able to draw this kind of speed. It's only because of the amount of experience I have with them. You know, it's a bit the same thing with you guys. You know, as you get more experienced, you're about to do this. Just gonna have red on this bit just there. Might should color on those bits red. No, I'm gonna try and paint those in actually. Yeah, pink for those bits. I'm gonna grab my amber tone, it's like a yellow tone. It's one of my favorite ones to use. So I'm gonna go for inside these little stem bits, just here. Just there. A little bit just here. On those spikes. Yellow in this base. And you can leave these bits here white if you want. I tend to like doing them yellow, so I might just put in a bit of yellow. Just around the edge. Just kind of like so. Nothing crazy, just a little hint of it. After we got that done, I'm going to go for my green tones inside here. I've been really liking this turquoise and mint green combination. You know, I don't know, there's something about these two colours I really love. I kind of fallen in love with them recently. I used to always use my forest green for this, but I'm going to use this because I really, really like these two colours. Be careful with it. I've already made a mistake and gone over my edge a little bit. Just take your time with it. So got it around there. Got from the bottom part just here, coming up in there. I like to stop with the turquoise just before the grey finishes. That way, when I hit the mint green, it makes the darker green, then goes into a lighter green. So you just get this nice transition. And I'm going to go all the way to the edge. You don't have to go all the way to the edge if you don't want to. It's just what I like to do. So I'm just going to work this in over the edge. And lastly, just get a little bit of red in that bottom bit, just there. And what I might do, if I can find me, there you go. Just gonna get my compass. I've got a fancy little magnetic compass. Put this here. Just want to get this little kind of sort of circle bit just around this side part, just here I think. So I'm just going to sketch this in. You know, you can use any kind of compass you want, or just kind of sketch it in. Thinking. Yeah, I like that. So it's got this little kind of line here. And what I'm going to do, get my ruler out so I haven't got that in there. Just going to grab my yellow, I think. So I haven't used too much of the yellow in this one, so I'm going to use the yellow for it. Just going to draw this inside that circle. I do normally use red for these kind of sunburst bits, but because I've got a fair bit of red in the flower and stuff, I'm just thinking yellow would be cool. This nice kind of orangey yellow. So I'm just going to bolt that in there. Just like so. Now I'm going to grab me a Sharpie, and just for the sake of doing it, you ain't got to do it, but I'm just going to go dot, 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 dot. Just some nice little dots around the outside. And there you have, people. That's how I do some nice praying hands and a rose. You know, I hope that helped you guys. I hope you liked it. You know, if you did like it, you know, make sure you give it a like. You know, give it a comment if you can. It really helps these videos out. And if it is your first time to my channel, make sure you click subscribe. And if you want to learn more, check up here. There's going to be 2 little things coming up in a little bit. You got my playlist, all my hand-drawn sort of stuff. You got digital stuff as well. I do a lot of stuff on Procreate. You know, there's definitely going to be something you guys like. You know, I've got hundreds of videos. You know, my most recent upload should be up here, I think. You know, it's one of the things you'll see as it pops up. But for now, people, I'm the Broken Puppet, and I'll see you next time. Peace.